Organizations are swimming in policies, right? For ESG, for risk management, for everything. And they're all packed with these great intentions. But here's the thing. Once that policy is out there in the wild, there's really only one question that truly matters.
Yeah, can we actually measure them? Can we tell if any of this is actually working? That's the huge gap we're going to dive into today. How we can turn all those good intentions into real, measurable, honest-to-goodness impact.
All right, so let's get into it. First up, the measurement question. This is all about moving past just, having a policy on the shelf and actually taking some real accountability for what it does or doesn't do.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Think about it for a second. A policy without indicators? Well, that's just an intention without accountability. An intention is a nice start, for sure, but without a way to measure it, it's basically just a wish. It's the accountability that gives that wish some actual teeth. And this right here is what we call the governance gap. So many institutions have these beautiful, well-written policies on things like climate, ethics, diversity, you name it. But then you ask that one simple question, how do you know it's working? And suddenly the answer gets, well, a little fuzzy, right? That's the gap we absolutely have to close.
So, what's the goal then? It's to reach what we call governance maturity. This is that magic point where a policy stops being just a documentation exercise and turns into a real, measurable driver of performance. It's a huge shift from just paperwork to actual, tangible proof.
Okay, so how in the world do we get there? Well, it turns out we need a framework, a clear, structured, you might even say scientific approach to measurement. So let's break down exactly how it works.
It's a 4-step process. Step 1, you've got to define the policy's real objective. And I don't mean the fancy corporate speak in the document. I mean, what's the actual outcome you're trying to achieve? Step 2, you identify the behavioral or systemic change needed to make that happen. Is it about people's behavior, a system that needs to be fixed? You got to pinpoint it. Then step 3 is where the magic happens. You convert that change into something you can actually measure, an indicator. And finally, step 4, and this is crucial, you link it all to risk and accountability. You make sure someone's job is to actually watch these numbers. And look, this whole flow is totally non-negotiable. It's simple, really. Without measurement, there is no evaluation. And without evaluation, well, there's no real governance. It's that critical.
All right, enough of the theory, right? Let's put this into action and see what it looks like in the real world. We'll use a pretty common example, a company's anti-corruption policy.
So what's a weak indicator here? Something like training conducted. We ran 10 training sessions this quarter. Okay, so what? That just tells me you were busy. It's an activity. It doesn't tell me if anyone learned anything or if behavior changed. Now, a strong indicator, that's totally different. That's something like a reduction in reported ethical breaches by X%. See the difference? One is activity, the other is impact.
And we can even go deeper than that. What about an increase in the whistleblowing trust index? That tells you if people actually feel safe reporting issues. Or look at the time it takes to resolve investigations. Is it getting faster? More effective? These are the kinds of powerful indicators that prove your policy isn't just a piece of paper. It's actually changing the culture.
So here's the crucial point, the main takeaway from all this. Your indicators have to measure impact, not just activity. It's the ultimate question. Are you actually changing the outcome, or are you just, busy?
Now, when you get this right, the change it's huge. We're not just talking about a tactical shift in how you measure things. This has massive strategic value for the entire organization. It's about moving from a simple compliance mindset to one built on genuine trust.
Let's look at the old way versus the new, governance-aligned way. The old way is all about compliance, right? Just checking a box. The new way is about having cold, hard evidence. You go from just awareness campaigns to what's called deterministic evaluation. That's a fancy way of saying you can prove that your actions led to a specific positive result. And in the end, your policy stops being just a document and becomes a true engine for building trust. This is exactly where governance becomes scientific. It's methodical, it's based on evidence, and it's repeatable. It's a real process.
So, let's bring this all home. Governance is not some fuzzy abstract idea. It is absolutely 100% measurable. And that measurement, that's the bridge that gets you to real accountability.
If you take away just one thing today, let it be this journey to accountability. The policy, that's just the beginning. Measurement, that's the bridge you have to build.
And accountability, well, that's the destination. That's where you were headed the whole time.
This whole framework is based on the work of Dr. Zeinab Hafez, and it's a powerful reminder that science and governance really should be partners in building stronger, more trustworthy institutions. So the question isn't really whether your policies have good intentions. I'm sure they do. The real question you should be asking yourself is this: if an auditor walked in today, could you actually prove that your policies are working?